Two young girls murdering one of their mothers. It's a crime that captured New Zealand's attention for over half a century. Why did Pauline Parker and Juliet Hume do it?
I knew it was wrong, and I knew I would have to pay for it, and I knew it was stupid. But I was terrified that she really would take her life and it would be my fault.
Amid the rolling hills and rivers of New Zealand's picturesque South Island lies the city of Christchurch, known for its English heritage and Gothic Revival architecture. But beneath this peaceful facade, darkness long lay coiled. On a brisk June day in 1954, this darkness was unleashed within the sprawling greenery of Victoria Park. A curious object lay nestled in the grass, a solitary pink gemstone glinting in the afternoon light. But rather than delighting its discoverer, this hidden treasure would seal her grim fate. When the unsuspecting woman bent to retrieve this peculiar find, two shadowy figures emerged from the trees behind her. Tiny hands gripped a brick wrapped in cloth, held high overhead. Then, with shocking fury, the brick came crashing down upon her time and time again. In this manner, she lay shattered among the flowers, torn away from the embrace of life. These perpetrators swiftly disappeared, just as they had suddenly appeared, escaping the scene to hide their dreadful act. But fleeting malice leaves enduring marks, and so begins the chilling case of a kind and ordinary woman, lured to her tragic end within a sunlit garden. A mother slyly separated from life by those closest to her heart. What evil could possess the souls of youths, normally tender, to commit such an act? By what madness or malevolence could innocence be so utterly corrupted? Hi guys, and welcome back to Crimeco, where we break down some of the most chilling true crime cases from all over the world, giving you the most up-to-date detailed information. If that sounds like something you are interested in, be sure to subscribe and don't forget to give this video a like. A like from you really helps the channel. Thank you. Now let's dive in. The victim was Honora Reaper, Parker's mother, a working-class woman employed by the University of Canterbury. Honora never could have imagined her own daughter would plot her vicious parish. Yet Parker and Holm had crafted a detailed plan to cut Honora's existence short, viewing her as an obstacle to their grand ambitions. What could drive two adolescent girls to resort to such an extreme reasoning? Pauline Parker and Juliet Hume inhabited wholly different worlds before fatefully crossing paths. Parker came from a working-class Christchurch family. Her father Herbert managed a fish shop while her mother Honora worked domestic jobs for the University of Canterbury. In contrast, Hume hailed from an affluent British family. Her father, Dr. Henry Hume, was a renowned physicist who relocated the family to New Zealand for a prestigious position at Canterbury University. These disparate girls bonded as outcasts, frequently absent from school due to health issues. Parker suffered from osteomyelitis, a bone infection affecting her mobility. Hume had battled tuberculosis. Isolated at school, their shared illnesses fostered an initial connection. As their friendship blossomed, imagination and creativity took center stage. Both lovers of literature, they began crafting elaborate fictional stories set in invented realms like the Fourth World. This fantasy life increasingly consumed them. The pair grew heavily reliant on one another creatively and emotionally. While the Holmes welcomed Parker into their home, tensions mounted as the teens withdrew into their intense inner world. Parker frequently visited Holmes' house for sleepovers, fueling both sets of parents' concerns about an unhealthy obsession. Same-gender attraction was then illegal in New Zealand, so speculation swirled regarding a potential romantic relationship. But while intensely enmeshed, no evidence has substantiated romantic involvement. Still, their all-consuming bond rang alarm bells. Both became despondent and even ill when apart. In 1954, crisis struck. Escalating marital troubles led Dr. Hume to resign his university post. The Holmes decided to return to England, sending Juliet to live with South African relatives given her health. This decision shattered the girls' insular universe. They frantically concocted plans for Parker to accompany Juliet abroad. But Parker's parents refused, threatening their precarious codependence. As their isolated world confronted the harshness of life's challenges, a disturbing resolution began to take shape. They considered a drastic step regarding Honora Reaper. They believed that by removing Parker's mother from the picture, they could pursue their ideal future overseas without hindrance. They meticulously crafted a plan, discussing potential tools and methods with great care. They explored options like stockings and sandbags for their discreetness, and contemplated the choice of an isolated location, ultimately settling on Victoria Park. Their actions reflected a calculated intent that concealed darker motives. They secretly ventured to the secluded park to test prospective tools on trees, eventually settling on a brick. They marked June 22 as the pivotal date, referring to it as the day of the happy event. They devised a facade of a delightful mother-daughter outing as a cover. On that seemingly tranquil afternoon, while enjoying tea and cake with Honora, their thoughts took a sinister turn. Parker approached her mother unexpectedly in the woods, holding a brick, with both girls getting involved in a chaotic situation. The ruthless actions swiftly extinguished Honora's life. The reddish-tinted girls then returned to the tea shop, attempting to maintain their innocence by attributing the incident to an accidental fall. However, this facade crumbled as soon as what was left of Honora was discovered. At long last, reality had pierced their fabricated universe with devastating consequences. Fantasy's allure had fostered dissociation from humanity itself. When imagination overrides empathy, it portends darkness. The ending of Honora Reaper by her daughter Pauline Parker and friend Juliet Holmes set off a media firestorm in 1950s New Zealand. The callousness of the youthful individuals involved invaded and horrified the public. Speculation swirled regarding motivation and mental state. As the notorious case proceeded to trial, both girls stood accused of a deliberate act. Prosecutors painted them as cognizant plotters, pointing to diary entries deliberately detailing their plans. Their writings revealed cold-hearted contempt for Honora as an obstacle. The defense asserted insanity, arguing their unhinged imaginary world evidenced delusion. Prominent psychiatrists testified that the girls suffered psychosis, paranoid delusions, and disengagement from reality. Lurid allegations of same-gender attraction and dirty-mindedness emerged, fanned by press sensationalism. Their intense bond was judged perverse and insane given same-sex stigma at the time. As the lengthy trial continued, deeper biographical contours of the perpetrators emerged. Pauline Parker was born in 1938, the only child of working-class parents Herbert and Honora. Shy and unpopular at school, osteomyelitis had forced extended absences. Her friendship with the more affluent Juliet Holmes grew obsessive, mirroring their fictions. Also an only child, Holmes was born in London in 1938. Her father, Dr. Holmes' prestige granted Juliet access to society's heights. But tuberculosis plagued her childhood, fostering reclusiveness. Their meeting was serendipitous, binding two imaginative but isolated souls. As their interior fantasy world grew, reality paled. Honora's sole mistake was trying to pry them apart, their insular bliss. Schoolmates relayed having witnessed the girls' preoccupation with plots in their writings. Police also uncovered diaries detailing the calculated. On the fateful night before the crime, Parker wrote, "Anger against mother boiled up inside me, as it is she who is one of the main obstacles in my path. Suddenly, a means of ridding myself of this obstacle occurred to me." The prosecution argued this proved detailed forethought and awareness, but psychiatrists for the defense deemed the writings further evidence of a delusional, invented realm replacing reality. After nearly 3 weeks, the case concluded. Despite arguments of psychosis and diminished responsibility, the jury returned swift guilty verdicts. The perceived threat to their friendship had engendered shocking violence and indifference to human life. Their young age precluded capital punishment. Both received 5-year sentences, prospectively banning future contact between the destructive duo. But had the insanity plea succeeded, indefinite incarceration in an asylum could have resulted. The punishment closed the curtain on a friendship forged from imagination and illness, only to disintegrate into the unthinkable. Speculation continued regarding what evils had corrupted seemingly ordinary youths. Reaper's demise spotlighted the menacing interplay between creativity and madness. It ruptured New Zealand's halcyon image of safety. That 2 young girls could commit matricide testified to darkness lurking in even Edenic exteriors. This notorious case reverberated through history, catalyzing enduring fascination and unease. It penetrated society's complacent consciousness regarding unplumbed depths of human capacity for evil. Pauline Parker and Juliet Holmes' paths diverged drastically following their chilling crime and cataclysmic separation. Their lives after the senseless act bore little resemblance to their prior insular sisterhood. Both young women emerged from prison changed, forever haunted by their shocking deed. Parker was released from prison in late 1959 after serving 5 years. She was granted permission to depart New Zealand and start anew overseas. Adopting the name Hilary Nathan, she emigrated to England. Keeping a low profile, she avoided press attention. In a rare later statement, Parker's sister conveyed deep remorse and desire for atonement from Hilary. She described her living a near-cloistered existence in England, shunning society. Nathan devoted herself to Catholicism and operating a writing school, keeping children at a distance. By all accounts, she lived minimally, as if perpetually doing penance. Juliet Holmes served her sentence at May Eden Prison until being paroled in late 1959. She relocated to England before departing for America. In 1967, she converted to Mormonism in San Francisco and worked as a flight attendant. After marrying and divorcing, she moved to the Scottish Orkney Islands and changed her name to Anne Perry. There, Perry launched a successful career as a historical mystery novelist, hiding her true identity until the 1994 film Heavenly Creatures publicly outed her. Since then, she has granted some interviews while avoiding extensive discussion of her.
I knew it was wrong, and I knew I would have to pay for it, and I knew it was stupid. But I was terrified.
She maintains the girls were not romantically involved and claims her religious faith helped reconcile her old self with the new. In 2010, Perry relocated to Portmahomac, Scotland. She credits solitude there for facilitating her prodigious literary output. While not denying involvement in the murder, she conveys ambivalence about dwelling on the dark deed. I don't regret good judgment calls, but if you make a bad one, you can waste time regretting it and become unable to move on. Her coping mechanisms appear rooted in avoidance, concealment, and reinvention. With distance and maturity, it's evident that both women grappled with profound guilt and trauma from their youthful transgression. Its gravity has shadowed them through the decades. Their paths reflect cessation of the dangerous bond that once consumed them. Perhaps they grasped too late that some lines, once crossed, can never be uncrossed. Both Parker and Holmes serve their prescribed sentences, yet still inhabit internal prisons of remorse. Their imagined bliss could not survive collision with grim reality. Honora Reaper's life was the price of their shocking delusion. This case reminds us that unforeseen darkness can fester beneath even idyllic facades. It reveals the instability of isolated imaginations detached from empathy. Madness beckons when creativity casts off its moorings to humanity. Parker and Holmes' carefully crafted fantasy realm ultimately imploded under its own implausibility. Their chilling crime and curious bond still echo through the ages, but its true lessons center on how easily untethered minds can drift into darkness, forsaking moral foundations. Examples persist in myriad contexts, from war to cults. Understanding this psychology remains imperative. Pauline Parker and Juliet Holmes' names will be forever entwined, despite the divergent arcs of their fractured lives. Each learned truth arrives too late for Honora Reaper. Her daughter and friend found that imagination unchecked by compassion spells calamity. This haunting case remains etched in infamy. The friendship between Pauline Parker and Juliet Holmes metastasized from imaginative escapism into calculated homicide. Their bespoke fantasy realm, once a shelter from hardship, ultimately distorted their judgment and morals past recognition. The shocking crime these creative yet troubled teens committed defied explanation in 1950s New Zealand. Amid press sensationalism, their complex psyches were reduced to simplistic labels like mad or bad, but true human motivation resists such reductive binaries. With maturity and hindsight, it seems evident that Parker and Holmes used fantasy as a coping mechanism to ease their alienation. Their shared illnesses and outcast status at school fueled withdrawal into vivid fictions. Ironically, their rare friendship became a liability when parents threatened separation. Casting Honora Reaper as the story's villain came naturally within their fabricated narrative. Her perfectly banal protectiveness became an affront to Parker and Holmes' grand plans. They had conjured an elaborate imaginary world to escape constraints, only to confront reality's limits in a senseless act. Parker and Holmes' shocking crime highlighted psychological blind spots. Their judgments became untethered from humanity as imagination dominated. They clung desperately to a contrived realm that could not survive contact with genuine connection. Fantasy grew dysfunctional when it engulfed ethical reasoning. In their distorted perspective of their secluded world, taking a life appeared to be the only resolution. Their perception of Honora's existence as akin to imaginary barriers showcased a chilling detachment from genuine human connections. Tragically, a mother was sacrificed for delusions of evading maturity's growing pains. Parental concern became persecution, necessitating escape through violence. When empathy atrophies, imagination can rationalize any darkness in service of fabricated realities. This notorious case ruptured idyllic mirages of 1950s New Zealand. Sinister impulses were shown lurking beneath placid facades. Creativity's uplifting power was perverted to enable evil deeds. Parker and Holmes' insular world could not withstand truth's encroachments. But exposure arrived too late to save Honora Reaper. Her murder spotlighted the fragility of human virtues restraining evil. This shocking crime's enduring resonance stems from timeless questions of moral psychology underpinning such incomprehensible acts. What combination of trauma, isolation, immaturity, and mental illness drives some to cross unconscionable lines? Are heinous deeds the province of monsters or inherent human vulnerability? Parker and Holmes' unraveling friendship offers plentiful lessons, if no easy answers. Flawed people sometimes commit horrific acts when their invented realities collide fatally with external forces. But they remain flawed people, not inhuman caricatures. Every mind harbors its own inner ecosystem, balancing darkness and light. Calamity can ensue when life's complexities are reduced to fables of good and evil. Resisting simplistic binaries may enhance collective understanding and even forgiveness. Pauline Parker and Juliet Holmes' psyches remain obscure despite exhaustive scrutiny. Speculation now seems futile decades later, but their tale highlights the precious fragility of compassion, linking all people beneath surface variances. Humanity's shared bonds outlast the temporary solace found in insularity. Life's meaning persists in bridging divides through empathy's healing light. When we fully grasp this universal truth, no darkness can prevail. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with the latest true crime cases. We appreciate having you as part of our community as we explore the mysteries that continue to fascinate us all. Stay curious and remember, justice may stay hidden in the darkest corner. Thanks for watching and see you on the next one.